AEW Fan is a pro wrestling podcast created by fans for the fans. And we welcome you to episode 52, and welcome back to year 2 of the PW Fan Podcast. I'm your host, your grumpy old school wrestling fan, collector, barber, musician, talk wrestling, Tim Gilbert.
And I'm your host, the architect of pro wrestling podcast and Funko Pop collector, Andy.
I'm also your host, the No Selling Wrestling Indie fan and Liverpool supporter, Jeremy.
Okay, gentlemen, in this episode, we will be discussing Logan Paul versus Roman Reigns, new WWE Women's Tag Team Champions crowned, update on the AEW World Title Tournament, and more. Before we get started, though, please head over to youtube.com and search the PW Fan, like and subscribe. Most importantly, subscribe. We can't use an official URL until we get to 100 subscribers, which is a lame and stupid rule. But once we get there, we can just give you a straight-up URL, and you'll be able to find all of our content where we have last year's episodes and what we got released this year so far. So thank you so much for doing that. New shirts available now on ProWrestlingTees.com/the PW Fan. 2 new designs for year 2, pocket logo shirt and a basic shirt. Look for those. We made them literally as affordable as the website would allow. We have no control over what the shipping costs, but other than that, we'd really appreciate you looking that up. ProWrestlingTees.com/the PW Fan, where we have 3 shirt designs altogether. And for all other social media, look us up by searching at the PW Fan, and we should pop right up. All right, well, that takes care of the intro. If you notice that Andy sounds like he's joining us via satellite this week, like The Rock in 2003, it's because he's having a little bit of technical difficulties, but you know what? We really wanted to bring you to the show. We even offered him. We said, hey, do you need to skip this week? And he wants to do it, so here we are. Thank you for bearing with us. He's going to talk as clear as he can. And Andy, I'm going to pass it over to you and get us started like usual. If you need any help with anything, just let us know. All right, buddy?
All right. This week, before we get into the show, as usual, there's usually a couple things to talk about, non-show related. So let's get right into it. I'm going to throw it over to you, Tim, and you talk about the article or not the article, but the video that you saw, and I read some articles online about the merger.
So let's start by saying this. None of us are businessmen of any sorts. I mean, I guess I technically have my own business being a barber, and I guess this podcast, but we are not professionals about any of this. And so if we seem like we are 3 guys who have no idea what we're talking about, it's probably because that's accurate, but we're going to do our best here to relay the information that we have read. So there was a report on comicbook.com. I do apologize. I should have had the name of the author written down, but it is on comicbook.com, and I originally saw it via Jim Cornette's YouTube channel that there are rumors of NBC Universal and Warner Brothers Discovery merging. So I'm going to keep it simple so I don't try to sound like a guy that I know what I'm talking about. Basically, each of those companies, one is the top parent company that does stuff with WWE. The other one is stuff that does stuff with AEW. And it looks like there's going to be some sort of merger possibly happening in 2024. They're talking right now. There's no official anything other than that. We don't know. But what is interesting is if that were to happen, it's that you got 2 wrestling companies now that are owned by the same company. Which one do you go with? Or what happens? Do you keep both? Does one eat the other one? What does that look like? You know, does AEW try to make a play to go to a different network or something? Because, you know, maybe they're like, look, I'm not letting you take my company. Because let's face it, the WWE is the bigger publicly traded company. They've been around for over 50 years. They have, you know, credibility. Maybe it's a little hurt right now with some of the Vince stuff, but just in general, they are a well-known worldwide brand. You go to anywhere in the world, even in the jungle somewhere, they're going to know who WWE and Stone Cold and Hulk Hogan is. So, you know, and then you got AEW, which is a young company, and people love it, but they've only been around for a few years. So, like we said, this is not anything actually happening. I think there's just conversations happening. It just makes it look interesting that 2 years from now, what could possibly be going on. Do you guys have any thoughts on this in particular? Pretty weird if eventually they were all under one umbrella, WWE and AEW. That would be wild.
Yeah, I thought it'd be kind of cool because they could easily do like a forbidden door then with WWE and AEW, because if they're under the same company, then their contracts technically don't need to be really any different then. Because if you're under the same umbrella company, then you can flip flop like ESPN does with ABC or whoever it is. So it's it'd be kind of cool to me, but the different part of it I think is because NBC technically only has one show of WWE's, because other ones with Fox, right? So SmackDown's with Fox. So then Raw is
NBC, NBC Universal owns Peacock, and they own USA. Fox
right.
is a separate thing.
Yeah, so then that would be the only thing that I don't know what would happen with Fox. Like, I guess it would still be a separate thing. So
well, here's the thing:
SmackDown people would be separate.
If anybody has the money to say, hey, you're not taking our stuff, they'll just buy. I could see Fox buying Raw, or whatever they have to do. Again, this is coming from a guy, I don't really understand this, but if anybody has the money to say, hey, I would like to make I want the show, because that would be totally weird if you like all of a sudden, you know what I mean? Like if AEW and Raw were like a thing, but then like SmackDown was like its own thing, like that would be bizarre.
Right. Yeah. And I kind of hope that it doesn't happen, because I wanted to keep it separate anyways.
Yeah, and I really don't want to see that happen.
Yeah.
Tim, the author of the article you're talking about, his name is Timothy Adams, and
yes.
I saw MSN as well posted about this, MSN.com.
Yeah, so this is not, we're not...
It's all possible. It's all possible merger.
Possible merger, again, the one thing that we want to really start doing on this show is we talk a lot about, well, I read this and I heard this. We're going to start citing those sources, like a real outlet would do, So thank you, Andy, for giving me that name. I appreciate it. We want to make sure that we give him credit. And yeah, this is coming from real credible sources. This is not just some like Twitter thing where like people are like, making stuff up. This is coming, like you said, MSN.com, and it's a crazy thing that could happen. We'll see what happens in the next 2 years.
In other news, Triple H today announced that Survivor Series this year will be Survivor Series War Games. What's your guys' thoughts?
That just makes so much sense, doesn't it?
It's great.
That's like kind of the obvious thing I think they always should have done. Because you already have a 5 versus 5 match already built into the pay-per-view, so then you just make it War Games.
Yeah, I originally saw that
it'll be fun.
I originally saw on Twitter today that someone had said, rumor is, and I believe it was, I don't know if it was, I really want to make sure that I'm getting this right. I don't know if it was, I thought maybe it was Bleacher Report. But then, that doesn't really matter, because WWE themselves, like an hour later, posted that that's what it was going to be, and they posted the graphic and everything. So, I think it's something cool, man. I really hope that they don't do Raw versus SmackDown in a War Games, because then there's no stakes on the line. Let's who's the better show? Who cares? Give me.
People are back and forth now.
Yeah, so give me a storyline going into this thing. If you're going to do this big cage match, give me something that, give me a reason why they all need to be in there and fight.
Yeah. Well, that's what Triple H said, didn't he? He said it's storyline driven, or he's trying to do that for this time.
Actually, I did see that. Where did he just did a recent interview with another, that wasn't Ariel Hawani. I can't remember if you guys saw that one. Anyway,
sure,
so what's next?
I can try to find it, look it up. I can try to find a way to look it up. Well, let's just keep on the train of Triple H. Last week, NXT 2.0 had its 1 year anniversary, and at the end of the show, I believe it was Shawn Michaels was narrating it, but it showed the NXT logo, and then it switched to it showed the NXT 2.0 logo, I should say, and then it switched to a updated, I want to say black and gold, just regular NXT. So they dropped the 2.0 after 1 year, with Triple H back in charge, and like we mention every week, I watch it every week, and it's getting a lot better than it was.
Stuck with it.
Stuck with it. One thing that happened this week was Solo Sikoa came in and won the North American Championship. So that'll be shown, or that was shown this Friday on Smackdown, which we'll get into a little later. Yeah, what are your guys' thoughts on that? You guys got some hopes for now for the future of NXT?
I mean, yeah, definitely. Hopefully it goes back to what it was, because at least I think to us, like, there was nothing wrong with it before.
Yeah, I think that, for whatever reason, since AEW beat NXT in that ratings war that didn't last very long, that Vince took it as somehow Triple H was a failure. Or not Triple H, but it was a failure as an experiment, so he changed the whole thing, where I just think it was such a weird time. Like, you had the pandemic going on, and AEW was new and exciting. Like, it's the new, the new girl in town. Like, everybody was like excited to like. I don't think you can compare the two. Like, I think if NXT had stayed the course, and once they got back to arenas and doing like real takeovers like they used to, I think it could have been something different. So it is cool to see NXT going back, because I love that brand. Andy and I have seen it live multiple times. I've sat front row. I mean, I saw Alistair Malachi, which we'll get into later, 2 feet from me, and it was such a cool experience, and I'm glad to see it going back to what it was. So it's going to be cool. I'm looking forward to see what they do with it.
So lastly, I wanted to talk about, I don't know if it's official yet, but it's official that it's being talked about, Vince McMahon getting inducted into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. That's
who would do it? Who would it bring him in, do you think?
Hunter.
Yeah. Hunter.
Or
I also think maybe it's like a year too early. Like, do it next year when he doesn't step down and because of all those allegations.
Yeah, step down in shame, and
hated people.
Yeah.
He hated people thanking him in speeches, and now because he didn't want to be like, I don't know if it's center of attention or anything about him, but an induction is all about that one person.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's
I don't know
big
if he
thank
doesn't
you.
want. Yeah. So, yeah, it was just that came out this week. I thought it was interesting to bring up. But if you guys don't have any other thoughts or anything that I missed outside of the shows, I can go into Raw.
Well, let's jump into it.
Alrighty. Raw this week opened up with Seth Rollins cutting a promo saying he was done with Matt Riddle, and said that he was ready to move forward with championship goals. Eventually, Riddle came out and interrupted Seth, and Riddle still wants another match with Seth Rollins, and I believe Seth is still saying no to it. They start brawling a little bit until it's kind of broken up, and Riddle gets back in the ring, and the Judgment Day comes out, and they basically try to recruit Riddle really quick. He says no, and they have a big issue with that, and so this leads into a match with Finn Balor versus him, which I want to say is probably the first time I've ever seen Riddle versus Balor at all.
I think so.
You guys can think of another time, but pretty good match, good opener. Winner was Finn Balor, and Seth Rollins attacked Riddle afterwards. So that was a nice little strong opener, I felt like, for the show.
Yeah, and usually whenever someone says I'm done with this person, it never means that they're actually done.
Not in the wrestling world.
Yeah.
Unheard of. After that, I don't know if you guys saw this. So there was like a pre-taped heel promo from Dominic Mysterio.
It's awful.
Probably a good idea it was pre-taped.
Yeah, like the fakeness of it. I know we're in this fantasy world as it is, but the fakeness of it was just, it didn't feel genuine. I guess
No.
Because he's 10.
And it kept like fading in and out of his face at different angles and like.
Yeah, it was just a weird. It was a weird first heel promo for him.
I'm gonna throw this out there right now. Ain't gonna work. Never was gonna work. We're just watching it not work in real time.
There's nothing with Dominic.
No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, he's terrible.
Well, he'll come back into play later in the main event, but until then, we had Damage Control versus Raquel Rodriguez and Aaliyah for the Women's Tag Team Championships. Winners were Damage Control, and after, 1 week or 2 weeks, we have another new Women's Tag Team Champion.
Yeah.
Now,
she has won the tournament.
When Raquel and Aaliyah won, I think Dakota Kai's wasn't actually the technical legal woman. And so maybe that was planned to eventually give the belts to them, but then have it on Damage Control in the end and give them a rematch.
Yeah. I still think maybe just go with them at first, because you're pushing them already.
Well, I feel like for the women's division for the tag team, there's not besides Damage Control, there's not really teams of women out there anymore. That's kind of died. It was there for a little bit, and then it stopped,
Yeah. Do you think that you had a plan for Naomi and Sasha to come back and then it didn't work out?
I still think they might come back. I don't know.
Or at least at that point for that tournament, because I felt like maybe it was going a different direction than they didn't get it set.
I don't know. So many things happened in that tournament. A lot of injuries, something like that, NXT side, and yeah, I'm not sure. So we had a backstage segment with Rollins and Bobby Lashley, and they ended up setting a title match for this week, which Raw opened with tonight, actually, but we'll get into that next week about the winner. And it's been a long time, I want to say, since Rollins has had the U.S. title, or really even went for it.
Yeah.
I think last time he had it was when he faced Cena and Sting in the same night. He was
That's right.
He was a 2-time champ, right?
Yeah. That seems like it was a long time ago.
Because it was. That was right when I got back into wrestling, yeah.
And he was a Seth Rollins fiend. He loved Seth Rollins.
Dude, the architect Seth Rollins was my favorite with the blonde in it.
Yeah, now makes way more sense where you get the architect thing from. Let me tell you, boss.
Well, my architect thing is not from Seth Rollins. My architect thing is from me being in school for architecture.
And he's also an architect.
That makes sense too.
And I've worked in architecture for years.
But he's also a mark for Seth.
I'm not a mark. I might have been a mark for Seth Rollins, but I'm not anymore.
He likes laughy Seth.
The Joker, Seth.
Oh my God. Johnny Gargano had his first match back against Chad Gable. Good match. Did you guys watch it?
Yeah, this is a good match. I was excited for it because both of these guys, I was like, you could easily put on a really good match. So
I was trying to go after him afterwards, and he gave a nice little suck it sign. I don't know if it's a tribute to Triple H and Shawn.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you this. I was ready, willing, and Gable for this match, and I was hyped to see it. And I thought they did a good job, both guys.
Yeah, it's nice to see Gargano wrestle on a weekly basis, or at least be on a show on a weekly basis.
Oh, he's great. Unless you're talking certain other podcasters, but we'll move on.
Oh, you mean the guy who has the same face? Johnny Sameface. Anyway, moving on.
Kevin Owens had an awesome promo on Austin Theory this week, and afterwards they brawled a little bit. What you guys think of this promo?
Yeah, I love this promo. I was telling Tim when I saw him over the weekend when he was cutting my hair, and it was like this promo, and I don't know, something with this Kevin Owens and like Moxley recently. I think it's like when they put the passion into it like he did in this one, it just makes it feel so much different than any other promos. And so that's like the favorite type, for at least for me, is like the intense, passionate promos.
Wow.
Blending reality with...
Well, I'm literally watching
Don't spoil
this.
Tim.
I'm not spoiling. I'm just saying, Theory finally, for one time, doesn't look like a punk. He's out there. He's whipping some ass right now. Like he's getting beat up for like 6 weeks straight. He's finally doing something. There we go. All right. Anyway.
Yeah, you were talking about before how they gave up on Theory. I was like, nah, they're just making him be hated.
Well, he seemed like he was like punished. He would literally like be like squashed and buried and everything like weekly.
Well, it's whoever wins the briefcase. Like they always bury them immediately right after for no reason.
Right.
You gotta remember, Austin Theory was in NXT with Johnny Gargano. He was part of Triple H's, people.
Yeah, that's right.
Not just a Vince guy. He was part of the wave with Johnny Gargano. So the main event of Raw was Edge versus Dominic Mysterio. Edge just wanted to punish him, just beat him down, which he pretty much did.
Yeah.
But in the end, Edge won via disqualification, and Judgment Day attacks Edge afterwards, and they were working his leg like the whole match, or knee, and then at the end they did like a chair stomp spot, if I remember correctly. I feel like they always just take Edge out and then bring him back. Like
it's always a chair spot too, like that.
This injury, apparently, the way they described it, isn't a break. So he'll be back soon.
It's like a couple of weeks then, I guess.
Probably in time for Extreme Rules or something.
Yeah.
But that wraps up Raw. Anything to add, guys, or do you want me to go on to Dynamite?
It was another good show. I actually enjoyed it again.
Yeah, Raw's been, I gotta say that, Tony. You gotta be a little worried there, boss. They've been putting on a good show there for you.
Dynamite this week opened up with Jon Moxley and Sammy Guevara in the AEW World Title Tournament. I thought it was a pretty strong opener. I know these guys have wrestled before, I just can't remember when.
It was like
happened.
back in like year one, I think.
Yeah. Winner was Jon Moxley. I mean, who didn't see that coming? Let's be real.
Yeah.
After that, we had a nice little promo from MJF. Always glad to see him out in the ring.
Yeah.
One of the best.
Nice to see, like, he actually explained all the people, too, and it made sense. It's not just, like, a group of people they smashed together.
Yeah. So, always good stuff from him. Anything to add about it, or anything you guys remember specifically that he said that stood out?
I like to name the firm for his group, because that makes sense with him and Stokely. Basically just hiring...
That's right, that's what happened. So the firm is a group that is put together on an as-needed basis for hire.
And
it's W. Moore...
I will tell you this right now. That group sucks. I can't be the only one. Come on. The group sucks.
It's a group. Let me explain the group. It's a group where everyone goes their separate ways unless called upon. It's W. Morrissey, Stokely Hathaway, Ethan Page, Austin and Colton Gunn, and there's one more person. Isn't there one more person?
But Tim, also, we said this about like the other groups before when they first started. We're like, what is happening? And then it turned out pretty good.
What group has turned out pretty good? I mean,
well, the first Inner Circle.
The first Inner Circle was cool. And obviously, to no fault of their own, with Brody Lee in the Dark Order, that was cool. Obviously, can't do anything about that. And then
I feel like the JAS was good for like a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean, Andy liked it with the sports, entertainment, and all that stuff, but
Yeah.
it was like, I'm just like, dude, what is this? First of all, who is that guy? Stokely Hathaway? Who the fuck is that? I don't even know who that guy is. And then he like
Wasn't he
has
in
all
NXT?
the. Was he?
He
Andy?
he ran Diamond Mine in NXT, which was Roderick Strong's group, and then he was released.
Yeah, because it's
Along with-
all right. Well, anyway, it's just not good.
But he's apparently MJF's best friend, is what he said on TV.
Yeah.
Dude,
Oh.
all I could think is I was like, man, MJF being there, awesome. MJF's the man. Who in the hell invited these jobbers here, and why are they there? It's like they should have helped him win the title, and then like never been associated with them like ever again.
Remember how the Pinnacle was a thing, but died out without any explanation?
The Pinnacle.
Yeah.
I remember.
MJF.
That was when MJF was about to
FTR,
walk.
Wardlow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No explanation, just died. Just 1 week it was there, and 1 week.
There's too many factions.
After that, though, we had Hobbs and Starks brawl after Hobbs' match. Starks came down from the audience, from the stand.
Speaking of not a faction anymore, Team Taz.
Yeah, Team Taz done.
I know. I love how Tony's like, "Oh, 3 factions just broke up." He's like, "We got to make like 6 more." I'm like, "No,
You gotta make more, guys.
Well, like, just let the ones that are there be there."
He's like, I can't make stars, but I can make factions.
The worst faction by far is the Death Triangle because it's stupid. It makes no sense. They're literally a team for absolute. They're a team for literally no reason.
Nah, the worst group is Best Friends.
Well,
Best
that depends on.
They're
See, that's
best
the best-
friends.
Yeah, they're our best friends, and then I know. Look, we represent the pro wrestling fans, so even though we don't have one here on the show with us, there are people that like.
Actually,
the
the
funny
Hardy
stuff.
family compound. The Hardy family
yeah.
compound was terrible.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that one, yeah.
Oh my God! Think about how
And now it's
many,
Andrade.
think about how many factions AEW has had in 3 years. Holy
House
shit!
of Black. House of Black
my
also.
God.
The
It's like so
the
many. It's like
factory is
over
still
10.
a thing. Yeah. So backstage we have Orange Cassidy, Superman punching Pac, and it looks like he's going to be going for the All Atlantic Championship. Which this is like a day one rivalry, like redone now.
Yeah.
I think this was like their first.
They
like,
actually had a
couple-
really good match on the pay-per-view. Pac and Orange
Yeah,
Cassidy.
whatever. Yeah, that was like the first time we actually saw that Orange Cassidy can do a little wrestling.
Right.
It was during that match, I remember. Main event, though, was Bryan Danielson versus Chris Jericho, I want to say 2, in the AEW World Tournament. Winner was Bryan Danielson. How would you guys compare this to their pay-per-view match at All Out?
I actually like this one better than the pay-per-view match.
Danielson made him tap out, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, even with commercial breaks, I don't know. This one felt better for some reason. Or maybe it was because Chris Jericho wasn't doing the Lionheart thing, and they weren't trying to, like, just out-wrestle each other and just have a match.
Yeah, I mean, I
but-
think the one at the pay-per-view was like, you could see one guy could clearly still do that style, and then the other guy was like
Yeah.
doing his best to still do that style. Where this one,
Yeah.
they just were like doing what they're both good at, you know?
Like I said, winner was Bryan Danielson, though, and that means he is going to be facing Jon Moxley. Both are in Blackpool Combat Club. Moxley came out, had a little face-to-face with him at the end of the show, and that'll be safe for next week. I believe Grand Slam, is it next week or 2 weeks from now?
It's this week.
Okay. Or
So,
this week. yeah.
So I just had a quick question with this. So MJF's been teasing like he's going to get involved in the main event. Is the chip, like, he won the Casino Battle Royale.
Is it like
the
a
chip-
Money in the Bank?
Yeah, is it like a Money in the Bank or is it not?
I thought it was, but Tim talked all this trash about it when I thought that. I thought it was hilarious that I thought that.
Well, that night, because I was like, Andy's like,
The
he's
rules of this
cashing
stuff
the
isn't
chip in.
explained well.
Okay, how stupid is it though? Look, I'm just throwing this out there, okay? You know MJF was coming back that night. If the chip, the casino chip, I can't believe I'm using that in this sentence. If the casino chip is actually something where you could just cash it in, just like Money in the Bank, same concept, why wouldn't have MJF cashed in that night when Punk's ass was like already beat and he was tired and worn out? That would have been, I mean, that's the edge. That's what he did to John Cena after the Elimination Chamber. That's the classic. You do that. You got to do it.
If he's really the devil, you do that. You want to play?
He has to like lay out the opponent first and then do it.
And not only, I think that is also crazy enough and like a big enough deal in wrestling to where even after the media press conference and the fight in real life happens with all those guys, which we're not really talking about. We've decided we're not really talking about that anymore until all the rest of the shit comes out.
Nope, moving on.
Yep. But you would have had that be a big enough deal where I don't think it would have been like completely overshadowed, you know? Like I think it would still have been like, holy shit. Like that's crazy.
Yeah.
And
I
then
mean, I
you don't
just
have
think because
Were they
just for
in
like this
Chicago?
show, the Grand Slam, like they would have to save it for that or something maybe.
They were in Chicago though.
Yeah.
But they loved MJF there, man. They popped huge. Huge. It's gonna be huge.
Yeah, that wraps up Dynamite. Unless you guys have anything to add.
I don't
I'm
really
just
have
looking forward to
anything.
MJF cashing in the chip now.
Is he gonna be huge?
Shit. He's going all in.
Give me huge. So let's get a SmackDown.
I was like, all right.
SmackDown. Logan Paul opens the show. Hogan Paul, brother. Logan Paul opened the show, and I guess the story was for this is Logan Paul had Roman Reigns on Impulsive, which I want to listen to because when is Roman Reigns really in a full podcast interview ever? And apparently after Roman left, Logan was saying that if they ever wrestled, the title would be his, or the match would be, his. So then there was a whole tweet war going on between him and Logan, and Triple H popped in and was like, well, I happen to have a show where you can speak your mind and talk about your differences. So Logan Paul opens the show and says, like, oops, you pissed someone else off again. Talks about what happened. Bloodline comes out. Paul Heyman returns with them. No Roman. No surprise there. So the whole bloodline surrounds the ring. Logan and Paul kind of go back and forth on the mic. And Logan Paul says that he has a conference set up. He says Vegas, but I think he meant Los Angeles because they were promoting WrestleMania Hollywood.
Yeah. That makes sense.
But for the next day, he says on Saturday that he's going to have a press conference, and, I think Paul's afraid that he's going to challenge Roman Reigns. Well, that's ended up what happened the next day. There was a press conference, and it was announced that Roman Reigns and Logan Paul are going to be going at it for the title at Crown Jewel November 5th, I want to say. It might be the 8th, but I think it's the 5th.
It's not as
why this is happening, I have no idea.
I hate it. It's awful. But hear me out. It's a great business. It's a great business move, dude. The Paul brothers are huge. They got a giant following, dude. Think about it. Triple H is like, okay, I've switched stuff around. I'm trying to make stuff better. Okay, the people that are seeing it are people that have already been watching for the most part. So we're all hyped. What a great way to get people to come on board and watch Logan Paul fight for the WWE title, but then they're also seeing the rest of the show, and they're thinking, oh, wow, this is hopefully, they're thinking, oh, this is a lot better than I watched last year or 2 years ago or when I was in middle school, and however old, kids are that are watching it. So it's like, I think it's a great business strategy. I'm just like, obviously Roman Reigns is going to win this match. There's no way Jake Paul's winning the WWE title.
Yeah.
Logan Paul.
Or well, okay, well there's a 0% chance that Jake Paul is. There's at least a small. So anyway, Logan Paul, one of those guys that does the YouTube and the Pokemon and the boxing,
Do you think the Saudi prince knows who he is?
No, he only wants he wants Bruiser. He wants Bruiser Brody and Andre the Giant and Macho Man and Owen Hart to come wrestle.
But no, Tim, you're right. Well, Logan Paul has like 30 million followers, and he brings eyes to the product. He's also under contract and is being paid more than Ronda Rousey. So if you're not going to use him, you're kind of...
That's insane.
It's bad business if you're not going to use someone that you're paying millions of dollars for.
Yeah.
Look, he's playing the chess... Dude, Triple H he's a boss. He, like...
Russian.
Tony is... I love Tony.
I love WWE right now.
But, like, Triple H is playing chess right now. Like, he's really... He's just doing things and making moves that I feel like he knows that people are going to be so hyped about, And...
There's more surprises to come, apparently, that we have no idea about.
I don't know, man. Jeremy and I were just talking before we started recording live that, and one of the reasons why we're just not going to talk anymore about just drama is because you can put that in your title of your video and get views or whatever, but it's like it hasn't been exactly fun to watch like something I love like AEW like literally like feels like fall apart like right before my eyes.
It's been fun to watch WWE. Because there's no drama going on, but...
Well, it's been fun to watch them get better, but it's like, this was supposed to be the place that wasn't like that. And it's literally, like, feels like it's turned to the opposite. So it's a bummer. But the one thing I said to Jeremy before we started recording is it seems like now maybe they've leveled off and things will get better from here. And just back to normal.
Like, we were kind of saying before, like, almost like a restart for AEW. Because they got rid of all that stupid stuff, and honestly, I mean, I hope they do better because like how it was before when WWE was the only major wrestling company around, like it didn't make it great really because it always helps when there's always something else going on.
Yeah, I mean, and if there wasn't competition. Yeah, I think Triple H would do certain things to like be like, oh, I want the product to be the way I want it or whatever. But at the same time, like some of the decisions that he makes, he's like, I think he puts a little pressure on them, and pressure's good.
Yeah, it's a good thing. Yeah,
competition always makes wrestling better.
I was talking to my buddy Corey today, and
shout out to Corey.
I sent him that picture that you sent Tim about AJ being the god of everything at one point.
Wait, oh yeah, the AJ thing? Yeah, 2013, 2014. Yeah, and for context, somebody on Twitter today, and I thought it was funny, so I posted a picture of it on the Instagram, but somebody was like, do you remember when AJ Styles was the god of this shit? And it's like him, like in all black and Bullet Club, like with the emo cut, with like having the IWGP title. And I was like, yeah, that was a sick time in wrestling. I do remember that. That was dope.
Yeah.
So I was talking to Corey though, and AJ's not in any storyline right now. He's not really used. But now, we got Finn versus AJ, but now we could actually get a storyline because Finn's a heel, and you could actually have something going on instead of a thrown together match. I think that'd be cool, but that's just me booking it.
It is crazy. AJ Styles.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see him back.
AJ's in his mid-40s, man. Like he doesn't look it, but he's an older guy, and it's crazy to think that Hogan in WCW when he's doing the Hollywood Hogan, and when I was a kid, I thought he was like 100. He was like the same age as AJ Styles is now. It's so weird.
Hogan did not look good. He still doesn't.
Well, he also balded when he was like 20, so that doesn't exactly help.
Now he has like these saggy arms.
Yeah.
We'll continue on with SmackDown during our commercial break.
I love Andy's abrupt like switch.
You guys go off the rails a little bit. Someone has to keep the show on track. All right.
True.
During a commercial break at the live event, the song White Rabbit was playing in the background, and it made the videos were posted everywhere this past week. And everyone's speculating what that means. You know, it was during a commercial break. Only the live audience saw it. White Rabbit was blasted. People seem to think it has to do with Karrion Kross, because in Lucha Underground, his name was the White Rabbit.
That was a Lucha Underground reference? Well, now, see, I was thinking it was a Karrion Kross reference because of NXT, but if it's a Lucha Underground reference, then I'm thinking more Bray Wyatt now. I'm going with everybody else.
You think?
Yeah. In terms, so those are the two things. It's either Bray Wyatt or it's Karrion Kross. I mean, the Karrion Kross aspect, it could just be coincidence.
But that's my point. No offense to the Lucha Underground, but dude, no 12-year-old kid that watches WWE doesn't give a two poops about Lucha Underground or what it was 6 years ago.
Yeah, people did tweet Karrion Kross about it, and he didn't say no, but it was kind of like he was joking with him. I think it was him.
Oh, he's like, oh, it's me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why would he say
like a
that?
bunch of emojis and everything.
It's not him. He would never even do that if it was.
If he even acknowledged it, so I don't think it's him now.
That's the thing. If someone acknowledged it, it's definitely not him.
Yeah.
Well, not long after that, Drew McIntyre came out and challenged Karrion Kross, speaking of him, because last week the show went off the air with Karrion Kross choking out Drew McIntyre. So Drew McIntyre comes out this week, hops on the announce table, and says, basically, Karrion Kross, you have my attention now, and I guess challenges him to some kind of match at some point. I would assume
challenges
it's going to be Extreme Rules.
Some kind of match within ropes and a ring and
something.
Something
reason
like
why
a wrestling
that,
match.
You're going to get in there and
the reason why I say that, though,
circle around.
The reason why I say that, though, is because Extreme Rules is coming up, so who knows what kind of match it could be.
So you're saying...
Thank you, God.
What's the stips going to be? What's the stipulation going to be,
We don't know,
boss?
but it's probably going to have one.
And
what's
just
the
something's going to happen with him. I don't know.
I like Andy.
Well, our main event was...
Here's what's so great. Cornette, who notoriously hates Jon Moxley, said that Jon Moxley's promo last week was not only perfect, he said it was flawless, perfect, amazing, one of the best pro wrestling promos he's seen. That's coming from Corny, all right? And he always trashes Moxley. But Andy, on the other hand, is like, yeah, he goes out and he cuts some promo.
He says some stuff.
Yeah, that was my fun. And he's like, what? He said it before. And I was like,
oh, yeah.
That's the one that Cornette was like, dude.
Everything they said.
He's like, he goes out and he says some stuff.
I feel like he said similar things when he came back from rehab. I don't know.
Oh, my God.
Well, speaking of that, I just remembered that during MJF's promo, he said that basically he, his demons, Moxley's demons about he brought up Moxley's rehab.
Yeah, they're basically having an MJF Moxley feud without even having it right now.
Yeah. So the main event of SmackDown, before we get into Rampage, we had a fatal 4-way tag team match for number one contenders for the titles. We had the Brawling Brutes, Butch and Ridge Holland versus the New Day versus Hit Row versus Imperium. Actually, pretty good match. Winners were the Brawling Brutes. So Ridge Holland and Butch, I believe next week or this coming Friday, will have a match against the Usos. Doubt they're going to win until the Bloodlines, until Roman loses the titles. I doubt they're going to start losing the titles.
Yeah.
Until that.
I just have to say, once the New Day actually retire, I think we'll never realize how actually good those guys are in tag matches. Because every single time they're in anything, it's really good.
Dude, they used to steal the entire show by being on the kickoff show with the Usos.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that
Almost
was
every pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure Tim's going to love to talk about this match. Rampage this week opened up with Matt Hardy versus Darby Allin.
who.
He's shaking his head. Winner was Darby Allin. Afterwards, Brody King comes out and says, just because you cut the head off the snake doesn't mean House of Black is done, pretty much, because Malachi Black is gone from the company, and I'm not going to make any speculation about the reasons why. You can look at what he posted about it and his reasons
I would suggest
of everything
this.
that went on in his life.
If you are a wrestling fan, like we were, and we didn't have any context a few weeks ago on the episode, if you want to know what happened with him, go to Malachi Black's Instagram, and you can read his own words. Don't go read what Meltzer said or whoever on Twitter. Go read what the man wrote himself, okay? And that's the best thing I think that you should do regarding that situation. Yeah. It's his business. It's his mental health. He didn't appreciate everybody weighing in on that, and I don't blame him. Even though we just reported what was being said. Go to his Instagram, read what he said. I think it'll make everything a lot more clear to you. So,
that's exactly what you should do if you really want to know. Because we in the past had said some things, and he came out, I think today or yesterday, posted his actual take on it. So go read that if you need to know. But like I said, Brody King came out, cut a promo to Darby, and threatened Matt Hardy and held him or choked him over the ropes, and kept doing it until Darby and Sting accepted a no DQ match, I believe, at Grand Slam against him and Buddy Matthews, which Sting and Darby ended up accepting. Claudio Castagnoli came out and cut a promo. Jericho ended up interrupting and pretty much said, he is a 7-time world champion, had championships wherever he went. One title he never held was the ROH title, and he wants to go for that quote-unquote Ocho. The big Ocho, he says.
I feel like he said that and he thought it would be over and no one cared.
Oh, yeah, right. It sounds like a Jericho thing to do. He is challenging Claudio for the ROH title at Grand Slam.
Chris, stop trying to make fetch happen. All right? Ocho doesn't work. No one cares.
No one wants to do your stupid ideas anymore today, Chris. Lastly, for Rampage, and there's one thing I want to get into after talking about Rampage, we had Ethan Page making quick work of Danhausen. Anytime he gets in the ring, I'll talk about it, but...
I know what Danhausen's used for right now, but he can wrestle.
He can wrestle, but
he can wrestle.
My thing about Danhausen is, like, you put him in a match with Ethan Page, it's like, dude, what I think Danhausen's funny, all right? And this is coming from a Cornette guy where, like, people always joke, like, oh, you don't have any fun or whatever. But I like Danhausen. I think he's funny. But he can't beat Ethan Page. Like, it just can't happen. Like,
it also doesn't.
It
a match
work.
Like that doesn't show what Ethan Page can do. It doesn't really help Ethan Page though.
It doesn't help anybody, but it also, like, if he did lose to Danhausen clean, it's like it's not really doing anything for anybody. He's making Ethan Page look bad, and Danhausen's going to go back to managing the Best Friends next week.
His hands.
But that's all I want to talk about with Rampage real quick, though, before we go. I wanted to go through some of the Grand Slam matches that were announced. There's a lot because it's Rampage and Dynamite, but I wanted to go through...
2-hour Rampage as well.
What?
It's a 2-hour Rampage.
Oh, okay. It's a 2-hour Rampage. That makes more sense, because there's a lot more matches than I have on this list in front of me.
Yeah.
I just wanted to go through a couple. Starting with Ricky Starks versus Powerhouse Hobbs. Do you think if the feud's going to continue, Ricky should win this one? I think it should go at least longer than it did on All Out. It got cut short.
Yeah. I mean, I think Ricky should win this one, because isn't he from New York?
I think so.
Or no, he's from Louisiana. Never mind. All right. Never mind.
Oh,
well, he should still win.
Yeah, there needs to be 2 more matches. There needs to be one where Ricky wins, and then there needs to be the big down the road, they need to do a gimmick match, like a. That's when you do a gimmick match, is when you've had 2 matches and you need to settle the score, and the only way it can be settled is by blood, brother. We're gonna get in the cage, or like that's where it makes sense and works. So I hope that they do that.
After that, I don't even know much about this. There's a golden ticket battle royal. How many number 1 contenders can you have? And how many different kinds of number 1 contenders matches?
Well, they also have like 10 different titles.
Okay, well, MJF has the chip. MJF has a chip, so like, what can this go for? The TNT title, like
the TNT title. It can be the All Atlantic. It can be, I don't know. What else do they have? The Ring of Honor stuff.
I don't know. Sammy Guevara versus Eddie Kingston is apparently happening.
Eddie Kingston's legitimately going to beat up Sammy Guevara in this match.
He's going to kill him.
Yeah.
I can see Eddie Kingston being like, Tony, let me get in the ring. I'll show you I can be a professional. We'll be professional, okay? Yeah. I promise. It's going to be fun.
Murder Sammy.
Yeah.
Sting and Darby Allin versus House of Black. Dude, House of Black, have they won anything? I feel like they never win.
Yeah, not on the big shows.
I don't know.
I feel like they should win this one, but
honestly, I'm throwing this out there. I think House of Black was the worst thing to happen, as far as, like, I'm talking just wrestling storyline-wise. He probably thought it was cool and fun, but I think House of Black was the worst thing to happen to Malachi Black. When he came in and was his own thing, and he was just being him, and he was facing Cody, it was cool. And then all of a sudden, he, like, got a faction.
Who would have made it cool? Triple H.
Trips.
Trips would have made it cool.
Trips or Malachi should be the leader of the Judgment Day, but that's just me. Still around 5 months from now when his contract's up.
We have Action Bronson and Hook versus Angelo Parker and Matt Menard.
All right, I don't like this.
You know who those 2 guys are, Tim?
Smoke Turkey. Sorry, I thought you were asking me about Action Bronson. He always used to rap about food. He used to be a chef.
Yeah, he has a food show too.
I want to say Action Bronson and Hook are probably going to win.
Yeah, they're going to win. They're from New York. Like, they built it like that.
Oh, yeah.
Smoke turkey.
I think Angelo Parker and Matt Menard might be from New York, too.
Yeah, I think they are, too, but they're heels.
We have Claudio Castagnoli versus Jericho, ROH World Title.
It's Claudio.
I think Daniel Garcia gets involved and costs Jericho the title, and then that starts the feud with Daniel Garcia.
I like that.
I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that.
Tim.
But I'm fine with all that. But it's just like, what is Ring of Honor?
With it?
What is Ring of Honor? Like, what is it?
They're waiting for their deal.
Like, what do you do? Like, it's not even a show. Like, what do you, like, where can I watch it?
You can't.
That's what I'm saying.
You only watch pay-per-views. You only watch pay-per-views.
The title has as much value as the FTW belt. It's a made-up title. I don't know.
I don't know but
I don't know about. Look, at one time the ROH title was very prestigious. Okay, I'm just saying now, not so much.
We have Pac versus Orange Cassidy All Atlantic Championship.
I'm just gonna say Orange Cassidy to annoy Tim.
God,
Orange Cassidy's
can these guys just not wrestle each other anymore? I'm so sick of it. They've had at least 20
They've
matches
wrestled once.
Dude, they've had like 20 matches.
They've wrestled once.
3 years. I swear they've had like, or just Orange Cassidy wrestle everybody, so I'm sick of him.
The next match is the match I'm looking forward to the most, which is the Acclaimed versus Swerve in Our Glory.
Scissor me.
The Acclaimed are going to win.
And if they don't, Tony Khan. If they don't, Tony Khan's out of his mind.
If they don't win, they have to win, dude. It'll be a huge. They're so over. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But don't forget,
And then
boys,
finally,
let me just throw this out there. We've learned this in the past with people. Sometimes the chase is better than when they actually have it. Just throwing that out there. But that's all booking. That's all booking post them winning the title.
True. Yeah. And then Jon Moxley versus Bryan Danielson. From a business standpoint, it's probably smarter to make Moxley the face, though I don't want to see it. I'd rather see Danielson.
Yeah, I'm going with Moxley just because they've already built MJF versus Moxley up already.
I want Danielson to win, but I think Moxley's gonna. And then Moxley's going for that 3, and then he'll be technically a 4-time world champion, 3-time AEW champion.
It's just interesting to me, though, that a guy, I mean, me personally, I think it should be Danielson. But because this is a dude who 2 years ago, or 4 or 5 years ago, beats Batista and Triple H at the main event of WrestleMania, then goes out of retirement, comes back, then just a few years ago, he's in the main event at WrestleMania with Roman Reigns.
He beat AJ for the title on a Smackdown. Wrestled Kofi in the at WrestleMania, and then his last match, I believe, was Edge and wasn't his last match at Mania?
Yeah, and I don't think he cares because he's getting paid well and he loves pro wrestling and he just wants to probably have good matches. But I just think his star power, his stock, however you want to phrase it, has dropped a lot since coming to AEW. I mean, he was like a main WWE guy. Like he was like one of the big guys. And now he's kind of just a guy
in there. Yeah.
Now he's in a
Well, I'll just say it's because Moxley is AEW's ace. I think he's going to win.
Is he, though?
He is.
Not to me. He's not my ace.
I'm going to be the Joker then. All right, how about that, boss?
Yeah, Tim, that wraps up the show this week.
Well, I got a new segment. I'm introducing it live on the air right now, okay? So, before we close out the show each and every week, I'm going to be doing, since I am the old school wrestling fan, we're going to be doing Classic Show of the Week. So, Classic Show of the Week this week, and I'd love for you guys to tweet us, reach out to us. If you've never seen it before, let me know how you liked it. If you DM us on Instagram, I will DM you directly back. But go watch SummerSlam 2002 live in Long Island, New York, from the Nassau Veterans Memorial Coliseum. A double main event. You have the returning Shawn Michaels who comes back after 4 years of being off with a back injury, and he competes against Triple H in a non-sanctioned match. And your main event of the evening, and this is a match that I feel like people forget about all the time and doesn't get talked about enough, The Rock versus Brock Lesnar for the WWE Championship. Great show. Great show. Almost every match on the card. I mean, you
might be the best SummerSlam of all time.
Maybe of all time.
Talked about. Yeah.
And I'm just throwing a couple other matches on there. Opening match, Rey Mysterio versus Kurt Angle. Chris Jericho versus Ric Flair. Edge versus Eddie Guerrero. I mean, this card is freaking stacked, man. So go check out that show. And I promise you will not regret watching this one. Obviously, you can find that on Peacock. And yeah, I think that wraps everything up. I thank you guys so much for joining me, Andy, and Jeremy for episode 52. And we can't wait to be back next week to talk all things pro wrestling with you, the fans. All right, bye-bye, everybody. Have a great day.